You're listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist, my personal journey of root work, faith, and ancestral wisdom. This is where I honor the ones who came before me and share what's been passed down and walk you through my experiences of being unapologetically aligned, covered by spirit, guided by blood. This is a very special episode. The title of this episode is Ancestors Speak, Dreams, Signs, and Spiritual Visitations. I do believe that ancestors don't stop speaking just because they've crossed over. If you're listening, they're still talking through your dreams and signs and nature and whispers and even in warnings. And let's get something clear. We don't worship our ancestors, we honor them. We stay in relationship with them. We listen for what they have to say and wait for whatever it is they want to send or let us know. This is part of the practice, and today I have a very special guest, and this special guest has had his experience with grief, with having a relationship with loss, losing one person dear to him and then another person dear to him in a very short period of time. And I think it's really special that they are taking this chance to talk with me. I want to introduce my partner, Nore Davis. Hey, honey.
Hello.
This is
Hi everyone. Hello.
this is gonna be so fun. We talk about some deep shit, but this is gonna be really fun.
Yes, it will. I am. Did you tell them what I do?
I am gonna tell her what you do. I
Okay, I'll
just
be
want to
quiet.
say your name.
Okay.
Nori. Nori does a lot of really cool things. Nori brings joy. That's the first thing you do.
Hey.
You bring joy. People can call it or label it as comedy or saying that you're a comedian, but I like to just say, like, you bring people joy. You make people laugh. You make people think through laughs. You make people have realizations through laughter. Like, yeah, like this is really, really cool. You are also an actor.
Oh, thank you. I'm just touched and blown away by your podcast voice. It's oh man,
Is it
it's
sexy?
yes, it's sexy, it's soothing. I'm like, who's this girl? I mean, it's not like you don't sound like that all the time. I
Mm.
mean, you're just it's just cool. Like you're giving it like 98.7 Kiss FM. We're talking to the ancestors right now, and we're making sure they're listening, and they are because they are with us. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Huge fan.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it because that is part of the inspiration growing
Hmm.
up and hearing female radio hosts with
Ah,
their voices. So yeah, but also just
yeah,
I'm
you're
very up and down in the voice, but for the
okay.
most part, like this is my medium.
No, I love that. You should have range. It gives variety. It gives texture. It
Yes.
gives yeah. It's just so fun and interesting to listen to. I love it. Just like I can go high or I can go low as
Yes.
well. I can meet you there.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Thank
then the listeners are like, are they gonna have sex?
you. Yeah.
We're talking about the ancestors here. It might get a little hot and steamy.
Oh my God. Okay, so y'all already know y'all in for a ride. Um, so honey, like
Yes.
first of all, thank you for doing this episode with me.
Yes.
Because I know it could be a little tough talking about grief and all while working through grief and feeling it. So
Oof.
so I definitely appreciate you doing this with me because it is a bit out of your range talking about this a
Yeah.
tad bit, but you talk more and more about it even in your stand up, right? Like,
Yes.
but why do you do that even in your stand up?
Because it's just such an interesting path. I mean, I guess my stand up is solely audio biographical. So I like to
Mm-hmm.
bring my listeners, my fans, or the audience, not the fans, I'll say the audience through what I'm experiencing for the first time. So it just blows my mind. And then, like, that's how jokes come to me. Me and my inner child. I talk about the inner child, talking about first time going through therapy, being a black man openly talking about therapy, and then going through grief. And the process of it was so fast and so daunting. It's like, how could I not talk about it? And I feel like once you go through something that traumatic, you're grieving forever. Like, it's my life has forever changed, losing my mother and my second mother, her baby sister, my aunt. And that was just December of 2024. So I
And your mom passed in
2022 June 13th, 2022, 3 years ago. So the third anniversary
just
was
passed.
just passed. Yeah.
What has it been like for you now that it's been 3 years since your mom has transitioned?
It gets harder. It gets harder. Like, you think you get used to it, or like you just forget about it. But since I am in this grieving and the child therapy work, I'm living in it, and I'm trying to express what I'm feeling through my
Yeah.
art on stage and through social media. So yeah, no, I think I don't like how we are in this capitalist world, and when it's very Squid Gamey, and it's like when people die, they're gone. You gotta keep going, keep working. But it's like
Yeah.
I want to slow it down,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to bring myself back to it. Like, hey, this happened. Let's process this.
Mm-hmm. Did your mama ever teach you anything about like death, grief, or even the afterlife? Like
Ye-
any type of spiritual, I guess like philosophies or just anything? Like, did she
Yeah,
teach you
I
anything?
want to say no, no, because I think she was mostly a Christian woman,
Uh huh.
Christian church woman, believing
Okay.
in God, Jesus, heaven, hell.
But even
My
even
auntie,
in
she was
that,
more into the spirits and
okay.
horoscopes, and about the afterlife, but
Mm-hmm.
also highly Christian as well. That's
Yeah.
so I solely was more of like on my own trying to figure it out. But
Mm-hmm.
once they passed over, then I was like on my own and trying to figure it out. And I
Yeah.
usually always been spiritual because I just didn't. I mean, the church hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
growing up and being forced to memorize scripture for a
Mm-hmm.
play, and
Mm-hmm.
not feeling safe. Like, every time I forgot a line, it would be like, oh God, you're the worst. Or, like, that's my trauma with the church. I just
Mm-hmm.
recently discovered,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's what I'm like. Oh shoot, I did not know that's what happened, and that's what my inner child let me know, because I tap into him, and he's like, no, this is why I hate memorizing lines for stand up or even for acting, because we had to memorize majority of the Bible, and then when we messed up, we would get attitude, we would get eye
Mm.
roll. I just never felt safe in the church during
So
those times.
so even like even though both of these figures in your life, your mother and your aunt, were both spiritual in their own lane and grew up in the church, they were Christian women,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really they didn't necessarily like leave you with a lot of tools when it came to like understanding death or grief, and then they passed and it was just very
Yeah.
sudden,
Yep.
and then you just kind of had to figure it out.
Yeah.
What
It's
have you
torturous.
Yeah, I understand. What have you learned anything? Well, I guess before we talk about like what things that you've learned in the last like 3 years, because I know your aunt passed just in December 2024,
Yeah, and I put that to the side. I'm gonna process that one day, but
but you haven't processed that yet.
not fully. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
have it. You know, I have the mantle, so
Yeah, yeah.
I have her there. And my brother, um, love him so much. I'm glad he took heed of that. He took the
Mm-hmm.
realms of it. But I was definitely there to support him through, the funeral home and
Yeah.
cremation. And she didn't want any. She didn't want any service. But for our mother, I was leading all of that because my brother wasn't strong enough. So it was great that
Okay.
we both helped each other. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's okay because this is good because I want us to paint the picture
Mm-hmm.
for the listeners, for them to understand what your journey has been like in grief and figuring out how to understand how to navigate, I guess, like
Oh my
everything.
God! Yes, I. Let me know. 4 scores and 7 traumas ago, I will paint it for you, darling. Just let me know.
Well, okay, so
Yes.
um, when we're talking about, or when you think about ancestors or ancestor veneration, what does that sound like to you?
Ancestors veneration.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like the ancestors are coming out from blood and they're rejuvenated and they come back and they're like, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving sinners. My
Okay.
my mom and my
Um.
aunt are like, just let us in, Nori.
Yeah. No. No.
And I'm
No.
like,
Okay.
why I
No.
gotta let y'all in?
Okay.
Why I gotta let
So.
y'all in? All right, my bad.
So.
Okay, go ahead.
So.
No, what is rejuvenation? That's not rejuvenate. Is it rejuvenation? No, what did you say?
Veneration.
Veneration. Yeah, what does veneration mean? Chat
So,
GPT, what does veneration mean?
no, we're not about to ask ChatGPT a damn thing.
Yes.
Um. So. So through my belief, through how I was taught. Well, first of all, I think I what I can share is I had a different experience, or I guess upbringing, than you when it comes to like people talking to me in and out of church, but like talking to me about death and
Mm-hmm.
the afterlife outside of the Bible. So like I remember like my first funeral when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I
Yeah.
remember like seeing the person in the casket in the funeral home. I remember going to multiple wakes or viewings
Yeah.
in the funeral homes, and being very clear about like, okay, like these people are dead, like
Yeah.
it's it for them. Spiritually they're somewhere else, because I do remember like my parents and even grandparents and maybe some aunts like kind of sure, like we go to church believing in God, believing in the Lord, and understanding like you go home to be with the Lord. So I understood the difference between like their soul is like their personality. Like I understood it like their soul is like their personality,
Mm.
their feelings, their emotions, and that has to leave, but the body is here and we have to do
Yes.
something with the body because of like the energy. So
Yes.
I've always understood that souls, could speak and communicate because the energy is still present, but it's just a different power and capabilities that they have because they are not in a body. So that
Oh.
was always kind of my understanding of, like I guess the process, or what that is. So that's
My only
one
under
thing.
my only understanding through like the body and the spirit being
Uh huh.
different is I remember being a kid. So you ever go to the funeral
Uh huh.
and you have to go to the wake and the body's in that room, but then the next room there's another body.
Uh huh.
So I snuck in the other room
Uh
and
huh.
I start walking up to the casket
Uh huh.
and I just feel this energy of like, no, like back away. And I backed up and I was just like, whoa, that was freaky. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. I wonder why. I wonder what that was. But that was the first time I was like, ooh, somebody, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it felt like maybe the spirits or souls were there visiting that person. I remember it was an old man. I think I was visiting, my mom was taking me to see my grandfather, I believe. But
Mm-hmm.
that's all I know. I was never told. All I just know is like we go to funeral, we go to wake.
Yeah.
Nobody's crying. Like
Yeah.
my mama and my grandma are hard black women. They not crying. They just like, oh
Yeah.
Lord, we
Yeah.
here. Did you get the flowers? Just complaining
And
about
then
stuff.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and then and that could have been for sure like something that you felt,
Mm-hmm.
and like you processing, like understanding the different, like if that was fear or anxiety or
Mm. No,
or
I felt the
spirit,
force.
or
I felt like
yeah, or a
it was
force or
interesting.
anything,
It was like, woo.
like because the funeral homes, churches, cemeteries, they all have like a certain energy, a certain vibration that's just like a constant. So
Mm.
yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
then yeah, as far as as far as veneration goes, it's the act of honoring the ancestor, of saying their name, doing something for them in their honor, for to commemorate what they did, what they said, or just making it all like
Oh, like the movie
positive.
Coco.
And yes,
The movie Coco.
yes,
Remember
yes.
me.
Remembering is very important, because what we believe, like, for as far as for people who practice hoodoo, we believe forgetting is the true death.
Mm.
Like, when you
Yeah.
forget them, you don't say their name, you don't talk about them, you don't do anything in their honor. That's the true death, when it's like they're
Yeah.
erased. That's why for us it's very important for the funeral to be top tier, off the chain, for them to have headstones, for folks to receive their flowers, pouring
Oh, so the service
libations.
is more
And
of a remembrance?
sir, you mean like funeral service?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
memorial
everybody that comes,
honoring.
so everybody can remember how it went down, and so the spirits feel like they're being remembered on the afterlife.
I mean, yeah, you want to remember the person, like it's the end of their experience in their body. So you definitely want to make sure you have a celebration of some sort, like,
Yeah,
for that.
got
But
you.
I'm talking about even after the funeral, as time passes and they're in another realm, they're in another
Yes.
dimension, there's still veneration um, that should happen in their name, because veneration helps them in their other life too,
Yes.
because they have a new life, a different life, like that everlasting life. It got to be different, because they're not so, like, limited, because they
Mm.
no longer have a body, but they're somewhere else. So it's
Yeah,
like,
I know that.
it's like
Okay, got
thinking
it.
of, like, that process helps them, elevate where they are. It helps them help you,
Hmm.
because now they have, more power to help you in different ways while you are still here, you know what I'm saying, like, in your body.
Yes.
And also, like, um it's like forms of communication, how they communicate, and which that's the next part I want to talk about, is like personal experiences with ancestors. And it's not just ancestors, but like angels and gods and certain spirits that just
Hmm.
may be connected to you.
Yes.
But I want to talk about, like, ways that they communicate. Number way they communicate:
Oh yeah.
dreams.
Yeah.
So, like, I know you share with me, um, and I think it would be great if you shared this story.
Oh,
Like,
I'm
if you could,
ready.
be real brief about it. But I
No,
want to
I'll
say, like,
share it.
share this story, because I know a lot of other people can definitely relate, because
Yeah.
it's super common.
Yes. Oh, I did not know it was common, but that's so comforting to hear. But it was definitely so relieving
Mm-hmm.
to have my mother come in my dream. So my mother was a very loud, rambunctious woman, like, just always calling me, Nori, what you doing? Calling me every day, always want to know what am I doing, where am I going, what's happening, and just and then complaining a lot. I mean, we had a very complicated relationship. So then when she passed and went through the whole process of hospital, then hospice, and through that whole time, we never talked about death. Like, she didn't want to face it, and I understand. She just kept saying, I need a miracle. I need a miracle. And then, June 13th, she passed at night. And then, and then I think it had to be at least 3 weeks. And trust me when I tell you, the silence, that's what really, that's what was really hard. The silence, just like the phone is just quiet. The universe is quiet. The room, the ambiance around me is just quiet, not like a chill, not a cold, not like a dead she's gone, just radio silence. I just could not understand that. And then I had one dream when I where I was being lifted away. I was being lifted away somewhere, and it was a very airy place. And it's not like it was heaven or some shit, just being lifted somewhere. And then my mom was there, and she looked like how I see her in the 80s. Like she had her 80s hair and her big old red glasses, and she was floating. No feet, no legs, and she was floating and she was smiling and she was saying like, and I just started crying in my sleep. I remember I just crying, and I just like, I miss you so much. She said, I know, and I know I was gonna, I know I was, you knew I knew I was gonna die. You like being funny, being fucking funny. Like she was funny. Like you, like boy, you knew I was gonna die. You knew it. And but she says, I'm okay. I'm okay. Don't worry, I'm okay. And then I was just crying, and because it was just so fast. And then I looked over her shoulder. She looked back, and then there was like three other spirits just giggling, and they had no feet too. They were floating as well, and they were like, like waiting for her. And she looked at them like, okay, I gotta go, and I said, okay, well, I love you so much. And then she just floated away towards them, and then I don't know, I got put back to where I was at, and then I just woke up crying like, oh my god. And I felt I felt so relieved. I felt so relieved that I knew where
Yeah.
she is. And there's no heaven, there's no hell. I mean, that movie Coco really nailed it. It's really one of those things where our ancestors, our loved ones are just floating, and they're just air, they're energy, they're around to help us. And then that's what I knew where she was at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
answer I needed.
Yeah.
And I still believe that, and I feel that, and it's just beautiful. Yeah.
What did you feel physically? Do you remember what you felt physically? Like,
Ooh.
you knew you were, did you know you were dreaming? Or did you not? Did it not
Uh
feel like a dream? Or was there a moment where, even when you saw her and she passed, was there a feeling like, oh, I'm dreaming?
when I saw her, like with at the service, or
In
at
the
the dream,
dream.
in the dream.
In the dream.
Did I know it was a dream?
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know. I just know when I woke up it was, but in the
Yeah.
time it was just
But even like when you say you felt like you were floating, like
yeah.
was this while you were dreaming you felt like you were floating, or was there a moment like that you registered, like even right before you woke up? Did it feel like you went back into your body? Did it feel like an out of body
Yes, out of body
experience?
experience.
For
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
yeah.
out of body experience for sure. So
Yeah.
when I came back, I was just like, it was like a not a jolt, but definitely laid back into my body and just like
Yeah.
whoa, and then woke up crying, and then like just so happy. But
Yeah.
then also the realization of like she's not here, physically not here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I struggle with that every day. That little, and even my, we could talk about that story. I'm, me. I'm a vulnerable ass nigga. So anything you ask me, I got you. But anyway, yes, that answered my question, and that gave me so much grace, and able able for me to give her grace, and able to give
Mm-hmm.
me some ease of like I know where she's at.
Was your question, yeah, let's say, was your question like, where is she, like, is she okay,
Yeah, not even okay.
or
Where
is she at peace, kind of a thing?
not even at peace. Just like yeah, yeah. Where are you? Like what?
Yeah.
Because even when my grandma passed, I cried because I the way I dealt with my grandma, because she was another one. Like I had the classic combo of
Mm-hmm.
parents divorced when I was 5, and then my mom and my grandmother together raised me,
Yeah.
and raised my brother as well. And they got a house together, and they raised us there in Yonkers, New York. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandma was there for all of my whole life. And so when
Yeah.
she passed away 2015, 2014, but the beginning of my comedy career, she gave me her Buick LeSabre, her 2008 Buick LeSabre. She would give it to me and let me use it. Because this is the part where, like, she really couldn't drive as much, but she was being stubborn and she was losing a little vision. But she would let me drive her around, and then she would let me
Mm-hmm.
use it for me to do college gigs. And, like, she really helped me at the beginning of my career. And I would use her. And the Buick LeSabre was like driving a fucking living room
Mm.
down the highway. And so when she passed, I still had the car, and
Yeah.
I just remember crying, like, you know what, like, yeah, where is she? Where's my grandma? Where my grandma go? And I just said, you know what? She went on the trip, and she'll
Mm-hmm.
come back. And
Mm.
that was just me physically, consciously saying that, like, I guess, a way to cope with it, to cope with the physical loss of my grandma. And then, I mean, I still kind of believe that to this day of like, she's just away somewhere and she'll come back one day. Like, I just could not accept that she's physically not here anymore.
And that's also still true. She is away and she'll come back one day, or she's here with you all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even but because I'm sure, well, do you realize like what you just did, everything that you just said, you're talking about your grandma, talking about your mom, all of that is ancestral veneration as well.
Really?
Yeah. Talking about them,
Nice.
saying their names regularly.
Say my name, say my name. Sorry. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So silly. Yes, all of that. And even like when you're talking about your dreams, like some people experience lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is when you know you're dreaming. Like
I like your lucid
something.
dream stories. They're very funny.
Yeah, I lucid dream all the time. But
What was your lucid dream? You said somebody was like, I need to get up. And you're like, get up. And they're like, no, 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 I can't get up. I can't. And you like, oh, I'm not doing this with you. Get me out of here. Get me out of this motherfucker. Wake up, bitch.
Yeah.
And you tell yourself to wake up.
yeah, I'm not very cooperative in my dreams. I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this.
I'm not doing this. Wake up, girl. Wake up.
Yeah, so that's very true.
You would not be good. I mean, you would be very good at Freddy Krueger nightmare movies. You'd be like, Freddy, I know where I'm at. Nope.
Yeah,
He
nah.
coming through the TV like, nah, wake up, wake up.
Unless he's killing the racist, I'm not doing this. Like, yeah, I'm not helping. Yeah, like all of that, lucid dreaming, ancestral projection. So you talking about like an outer body experience, like like feeling like you were floating as well, or feeling like you went back into yourself, and then you just woke up, and then the transference of the energy that you felt in your dream to like your, when you waking up and you still feeling like, tears, you're crying, you're feeling like emotional, and and maybe you've also felt like that relief and just acceptance, like, wow, like I really saw my mom. So all of this is, these personal experiences that you have, bringing you moments of clarity, even if it was certain things that you can't really even explain it, but it still brought you some type of validation.
Yeah.
Like it's super
Wish
powerful, and that's how spirit speaks personally.
I'm so happy she gave it to me.
Yeah, and again, like I think the dreams is super common. It doesn't always have to look like someone else's experience, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, dreams definitely are ways in how they communicate. Ancestors, spirits, our angels communicate through certain signs. Let's dive into like a little bit before we kind of go off the rails, but let's dive into like how to stay in relationship with your ancestors, or just stay in relationship with people who have passed on, and that actually helping you with grief.
Yeah.
How that can be a tool for navigating or managing grief.
Yes.
I taught you about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I taught you about altars.
Yes, you did. You taught me about altars. Again, very Coco style. Very like, and you helped me with a grieving therapist or a grieving.
Yeah, like someone who is like a therapist who specializes in grief
Yeah,
and
thank you for
death.
that grieving
She's
voucher. That
also
was
like
amazing.
a death doula. Yeah. So y'all, for Nore's, one of Nore's birthday presents from me was a session with a death doula.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so
amazing.
loved. That's the best birthday gift ever. Here is a grieving voucher therapist. Like, here you go. Here's a gift card to a grieving therapist. That shit is fucking fire. You can't get that at Kohl's. You can't get that at Target or Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting talking to your therapist and be like, my nigga, let me get a voucher for my other nigga because he needs you. That's fire. Make sure to do that for your people. Do that for your loved ones. Like, if they,
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
that's fire. I love you for that. Thank you.
I love you too. There's death doulas and
Yeah.
you know, different forms of therapists and coaches and mediums, and you know,
Yeah.
like I think they're out there. I think people just, you know, sometimes don't think that folks exist in that sense.
Think
Or
about
when
it. We're Christianity is shoved in our fucking throats, so we can't even talk about
or
it.
like
Cause
one form
go
of
to church, yeah,
Christianity.
yeah. Go to church or forget about it. Keep working. Like I didn't know that until somebody like you. I'm blessed that you're in my life. To like, hey, look, here's a voucher for a grieving grieving therapist. I'm like, nigga, where the fuck
Yeah,
you get
just
this? Cause I already have a therapist, but even that was that was definitely the universe navigating me to that. So cause I kept earning to do better for myself and heal myself. I kept ending up in bad situations of
yeah.
toxic relationships before we met, as but listeners do not. So anyway, but yes.
But yeah, so the
So thank you for that.
ancestor
Hmm.
altars.
Ancestor altars. Yes, sorry, we're going off the rail. Yes, I have an ancestor altar
For your mama and your
and
aunt.
my auntie urns. Yep, they are right under a wine rack. They're under wine bottles.
Uh-huh.
And you know what that wine rack is from my mom's house?
Yeah, you told me.
And I remember my aunt was
Yeah.
always like, I want it. Why don't you get it? And I said, I sold it. And I lied because it's fucking heavy. And I'm not bringing it to the fucking Bronx, auntie. And she was like, she would be mad, curse me out. Like, I don't know why you just won't, why'd you sell it? Why'd you sell it? That's my sister's. That's my sister wine rack. I'm
Yeah.
like, my nigga, I'm not bringing
Yeah.
a heavy ass wine rack to the Bronx, 225th Broadway,
Yeah.
when you just have cancer yourself, and then we're gonna have to clean out your apartment. Like that's
Mhm.
crazy. So anyway, but yes, so I have a thank you. I have an altar.
Yeah. Has what I guess like share what has the altar done in a way that I guess you were surprised? Like how has it helped you
Oh
having
yeah,
the altar?
cause it gives me a place where I have my little yoga mat and I can kneel and I can talk to my ladies. I
Mm-hmm.
talk to my ladies. I miss them. I light a candle. I have water by them, and I read that book that the grieving coach gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my phone? It's a great book. You know the title of the book. You could tell them.
Well, which one? Because there's we don't die, and then
We Don't
there's
Die.
okay.
Yep. We Don't Die.
Is that one?
Is that one. We Don't
Okay.
Die. I read that one. And then the grieving coach, she told me like, play some water. So play some water
Yeah.
for them or like their
Mm-hmm.
favorite drink and
Mm-hmm.
light a candle.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, not to say this, it sucks that this episode is not sponsored by the movie Coco, but it very much is that of like visualizing me like giving them some like water and a candle and like
Yes.
remembering so there's some light that
Yes.
I'm here and I'm talking to them and like the voice in me which is my inner child who's very angry
Yeah.
and very like having the toxicness of like
Mm-hmm.
capitalism, patriarchy in him of saying like, why are you talking to your fucking mom? That's crazy. Stop being fucking crazy. Like that's weird. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, bro, like no, this is a way we can connect. Come on, let's sit down together. We
Mm-hmm.
talk to them,
And that's how you
and let's
develop.
yeah.
That's how you continue to have a relationship with them. That's how you continue to develop your own power, like your
Mm,
intuition, developing your spiritual power. It's help
mm-hmm.
strengthening that. Same thing with having a relationship with God, having a relationship, with yourself.
Yeah,
That's super super important. So it's all about and keeping it simple. Like I told you.
yeah. Cause you know where my mama was before, right?
Oh,
You gonna get to
you
that?
want to?
Yeah,
Are you ready? You want to talk about where she was
yeah,
before?
yeah. I'm still trying. I
Are you
mean,
sure? I wasn't gonna bring that up.
you can bring it up. I don't care.
Well,
Like,
I'm just saying, like
yeah,
personally, I wasn't gonna bring that up. Um,
yeah,
but
no. Well, we're giving the listener suspense. I kept my mama
well,
Earn in the sex dungeon. And I made her watch as I get beat and had a
no,
gag ball.
no,
No, it's
no,
not that. It's not.
no. That's not it. That's not it. No, no. Okay, so we'll dive into that. Okay,
Yes.
so y'all, like in the earlier months of Nori and I dating. We were on the phone, just kikiing, and
As we do.
as we do, we actually do just be talking on the phones like buddies. But you said something about your mama. You said something about where she was, and then
Yeah.
I said, huh, Nori, where is your mother? And I'm knowing, obviously I'm knowing your mother passed.
Mm-hmm.
I know, you were still dealing with moving, getting rid of her house and moving things and storage and blah, blah, blah. And I
Yeah.
know that you were always talking about going to your storage. But yeah, you said something about, yeah, I have to go to the storage and then, yeah, I have to figure out what to do with my mother. Something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, Nori, where is your mother?
And I said she's in the storage unit,
And
sitting right on top of my sneakers.
he says she's in the storage unit
Yep.
with my sneakers and
Yep.
some of her stuff.
Public storage number
And I said,
D1126.
excuse me?
Yep. Locked her ass up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I felt this like a stench of judgment was about to infiltrate my brain a little bit, like my thought. But then I was like, no, don't judge. It's not for me to judge. But it could be a moment to educate or just to dive in. Because I also felt, because we were on FaceTime.
Yes.
And I could see in your face and I felt your energy like you was low-key embarrassed.
Yeah.
To tell me. Because it was almost like you was like, she about to ask me where my mama at.
Yep.
And then I asked you, and then you were like, she's in the storage.
Yep.
And then I said, why? I do remember asking you why.
Right. Yeah, what did I say?
And you said, well, it happened so quickly. I didn't know where to put her, and then because I moved and I had to get rid of her, I just put her there for now, and then I just left her there.
Yeah.
Because so much happened and I had to adapt. Now, this is when the judgment was about to infiltrate my mind because you were like, I just left her there, blah, blah, blah. And so all I could think of was like, I don't know if I told you this. Maybe I did. But in my mind, instead of the judgment, educating in my mind, because I was thinking wow, your mama's in darkness.
Yep.
And being for people who practice, majority of people who practice African traditional religions or derived religions, earns being in darkness not good. Or it's almost like an act of forgottenness. You're trying to forget.
Yeah.
By putting her in the storage, and it's like, oh no, don't do that. So in my mind, it's almost like I felt a shift and just educating and not judging, but I really did in my mind make up I'm gonna get you out the storage. I was talking to your, but I don't know her like that, but I just felt like I'm gonna get you out the storage. So, but I think you were very good. I remember you being very open to it, to what I was telling you. Yes. Because I kind of went into straight up just telling it like it is. Because I remember giving it to you straight. I was just like, hey, I understand what you're saying. However, I really think you should reconsider. I was like, because you told me how long she had been in there for a minute.
2 years.
Yeah.
3 years. Or maybe
almost.
Almost.
It was like over a year and a half.
We started talking.
Okay, so 2 years. Yeah,
2
years,
years.
I would say 2 years.
She's been in 2 years.
So I was like, hey, that's, that's not good to have in a storage. And I'm remembering. I asked you when I said why, and then you told me why. And then I said, are you mad at her? And then you said, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I said, yeah. You're like, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I'm mad.
Straight punishment.
And then I told you, and then I was like, okay. I was like, I totally understand why you're mad and upset. I was like, however, she's not mad at you. she forgave you, and you keeping her in the storage is doing nothing but harming you, because you're not able to heal past that anger, and you think being mad and keeping her in the storage is punishing her, but it's not punishing her, it's just punishing you.
Yeah.
And then you were like, yeah, you're right, like, I understand. So that was step number one.
Yeah.
Then step
That's
number
like me, I want to hurt her, but I'm drinking poison.
yeah,
You
but
know.
exactly, yeah. And then that was step number one. Step number two was me kind of sharing with you, like, yeah, so, like, our belief is, her, even with her being in the urn, like, venerate her, honor her, because she's honoring you. Like, she has so much more power where she is now, and you have to feed back into that power, and then she feeds back into you, because she's it's a release, like, she's free. We're the ones that's bound, limited in our bodies to some degree, but we still have this power connection to them. And I was like, so having, getting through your pain would have to does mean you taking her out of the storage, because that's just not, and it was so hard for me to not say, like, nigga, get your mom out the storage, like, that's wrong, like, that's not right. But
Yeah.
it was more important for me to, because I think then that's what I broke it down to you, like, hey, hun, like, I grew up Christian Baptist. I'm a very spiritual person. I have, no shame in my game practicing hoodoo and being within the ATR's community. I'm not initiated into an African religion yet, but that will come soon. But now in the space that I am, my spirituality, like, I'm just, open. And I openly practice, like, what my ancestors practice. And one of the beliefs is we venerate and honor the dead. We don't spit on the dead. We don't talk shit about the dead. We don't hide them. We don't keep them in darkness. Like, like, we have to honor our people. And
Yeah.
then and that was like a great step too, like, in our relationship and friendship, because you understood a little bit more about, like, who I am and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was like I was giving you a little bit and you was giving me a little bit. It was
Yes.
just kind of
Well, I'm so happy for that. I mean,
that was helping.
I guess I've been looking for that, to be honest, because when somebody dies, nobody tells you what to do. I had no
Yeah.
elders in it. I had
Yeah.
nothing. All
Yeah.
she died. I'm in a fucking funeral home, and then I'm in the office, and I have to pick a urn. Then there's a service, and then people said they was gonna take her urn, her sister, my aunt, and
Yeah.
then she didn't. So now I have it, and then it's like, do I put it? Like, where do I put it? Like, it's
Mhm.
even when you take it home, like, what's the proper
Yeah, what
respect?
do I do?
Do you put it on the floor of the car like Chinese food?
Yeah.
Do you put it on top of the car like fucking skis? Do you put it in the back? Do you put a seatbelt around it? What do you do with this fucking urn that my mother is in?
Yeah.
And so, and then I had all her stuff, and she has so much stuff. She was an organized hoarder. And then through 5 years of therapy before she passed and everything, I discovered, like, she was huge ego,
Mhm.
borderline narcissist, and I wasn't seen, I wasn't loved, I wasn't heard for who I was. So it was,
A
but
lot of anger and just things built up in
so
that
much
period of
anger to
time.
where, like, the type where everybody says she loves me, but I never heard she loves me. But
Mhm.
her actions did show it, but it just did not. It wasn't
Yeah.
the type of love that me
Yeah.
and my inner child wanted. If that, yeah, like that. So
So
that anger all there. So it's like, yeah,
it
you're
was
going
just
in a.
built in, like,
Oh yes.
putting her there in the
And then
storage
while she was
and
dying, she
keeping
never
her.
talked about, like, we never talked. There was times I
Yeah.
tried to sit next to her and look in her eyes, and then she would, tell everybody, like,
Mhm.
I'm fine, don't worry, I'm going home. And then she look in my eyes, be like, I want to go home, I want to go home. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I couldn't fix it. I couldn't. There
Yeah.
was nothing I could do. So there
What
was
did you?
that we never got that chance. We never had the opportunity just to talk about death or to talk about what's
Yeah,
happening.
what's happening, like the plans and
So
everything. It was just like boom, it happened. figure it out.
Yeah,
And
so
then you
so
didn't
sitting
have
up
any
there acting
support.
like it's not happening is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I understand it now and have grace and love for her. I get
Mhm.
it. But at the time, I could tap into that now.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yeah, I could feel it. It's the anger of like my nigga, like I know you're dying. I love you. What's up? Can we talk about this? Like, what do you
Mhm.
want? What do you want me to do? And it was just the whole like, I, I'm fine. Make sure people come. See, oh, what's name's coming tomorrow? It was just torturous because it's
Yeah.
like, my nigga, like, you really not gonna talk about what's happening? So
So
anger.
so because let's back up because you shared how, I mean, you're right. Like, not everybody has a plan, just like not everyone has life insurance,
Yeah,
burial insurance, and
yeah.
like this, just a will and everything just written out.
Hmm.
And then
Just down
not
to
a lot of us
business.
talk about like what to do after the funeral, after the burial. Like, okay, what is it that we do?
Yeah.
So I get it. Like, it was just so much built up, and I felt that from you, which is why I also felt comfortable to say like, hey, like, this is why, like, having that spiritual relationship with yourself and God and then your ancestors is super important, because it does help you navigate grief and like figure out what to do, and that with
Hmm.
my family, I'm just super grateful for my experience, because even like my father had an aunt. One of his favorite aunties when he was younger passed away like in 1974, something like that, or 73. And I told him where she was buried, because he didn't know the exact cemetery where she was buried in California, not too far, not a little bit outside of LA. When I told him where she was buried and how to find her, and and like the coordinates and all that, because I went to visit her a couple times and I had her headstone cleaned. But as soon as when I told him where she was, that nigga went in to visit her and took a lawn chair with some whiskey and play a little speaker and played some music and was just kicking it with his auntie, and he was just, and I remember like him being so happy about it. And then when he came back, because he went with my other uncle, his younger brother,
Hmm.
and both of them had never been to her gravesite, and this was like an aunt that they loved when they were kids, and she just passed away over 40, I'm saying, some years ago.
Yeah.
And yet, they're just like, that's what they wanted to do. And then I remember that day he came back home, he was like, man, like, that was just so cool, like, being there with her. It was just like, wow, like, I just talked to her about
That's dope.
everything. And
Yeah.
and he was like, like, I really believe like God blesses us when we go visit our people and just
Mm.
hang with them, and then they bless us, like, we have this relationship, because it just connects us to death in a different way, because
Yeah.
we're so removed from it in a different way.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, it's like, I do believe, like, and this is, and I don't even know if it's like a for real hoodoo thing or if it's a straight up ATR thing, but like, the belief is it's really hard to break ancestral curses and generational curses and traumas and bad patterns when you're still like doing the same bullshit,
Mm.
and you don't have a relationship like with your folks that
Yeah,
passed
that
on.
passed away.
So it's
Yeah.
like, you have to, in order to move past, to break curses, to level up, you know what I'm saying, like, get through the traumas and heal, you have to have these relationships, you have to do these things, which may, include making sure, you visit folks at the cemetery, making sure, you
Yeah.
have your altars, you light your candles. Altars, for folks out there, altars, keep it real simple. Just, water
Yeah.
and a
A little,
tea light.
a little tea light. That's the little candle thing,
The
right?
look,
That's flat.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. Or just a
Yup.
candle
Mm-hmm.
and some water,
And
and
your picture.
and do your picture if you have a picture or an item of theirs, and just pray. I like to do my one of my grandmothers, and then I have a aunt who passed. They have like favorite Bible verses,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, you can bust out with a couple of Bible verses if that's the thing, or like play, like certain music that they like to listen to, or just chit chat and talk to them.
Yeah.
When
So what
you
I do every day, or like when I'm home, because they're at at my dad's house. So I have an office at my dad's house. So, which is so funny, his ex-wife's urn
Yeah.
is in my office.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. He's
That's the other
cool.
thing I
Yeah.
want to say, like, for other people. Don't dismiss what you feel just because it doesn't fit someone else's version of like
Hmm.
spirituality, or even don't dismiss it if you think like, oh, somebody else might think it's weird,
Yeah.
or you know what I'm saying, or it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know if this person will out, whatever.
Yeah, nah, he does.
So
He does. I mean, I don't even know what he feels, but all I
mhm.
know, like, he was awesome. He was present at the funeral, and
Word.
he was very funny, at her funeral. His
Yeah.
first line, he got up there because I think me and my brother organized everything, and his first line out of his mouth was like, "Well, we definitely made some great offspring." I
Yeah.
was like, "This nigga is crazy. This nigga is
But
hilarious."
again, like funerals and memorials,
Yeah.
like that's where you really should like be yourself, let it out, and because that person, that spirit, they could very well be present at their service. They could very well like it may take them, if they don't really have like a concept of time and how we do, but it may take them time
Yeah.
to get to understand their place, and then they may be able to roll back and actually see what happened at the funeral or who was there.
I
You know what
do
I'm saying?
believe
Like,
that because I have the mantles. I have my mom's urn on the left, my auntie's urn on the right, and I have them together, and they're under the wine. They're in
yeah,
the wine rack. Have their picture, have the tea light and the water,
yeah.
and an affirmation book that they both share that both
Oh,
has
okay.
their handwritings at.
Uh-huh.
So I'll light the tea light and I'll read the affirmation of the day,
Nice.
and then I'll say, "Hi, auntie. Hi, mom." And how
Oh,
you guys doing?
that's
I'm doing
perfect.
this. I got a show the other day. Layla's my daughter's doing this, and hi, ladies. Stuff like
Yeah.
that. Sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't, but it just does feel good to like say hi to the women that raised me, cause that's still. I mean, I think I'm a little. I don't know, but I sometimes it's the 9 stages of grief,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get to like anger and sadness and
Mm-hmm.
pass it, and then I get back to shock again,
Mm-hmm.
cause it's like the ladies that raised me are gone, and
Mm-hmm.
that's physically gone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that mantle really helps to that connection with them. I mean, yeah, yeah,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, me too.
I love that. That's
Love you
really.
too. Thank you for the education and getting my mama out of storage.
You're welcome.
And
'Cause
then oh yeah, to your point that you just said of like I haven't been able to process my aunt yet, but I don't feel her as well too, but I feel my mom, and I think it is that like maybe I'm hoping or I believe that my mom is helping my aunt adjust
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
to like the new world, and that's what the grief
Kind of helps you.
the grief therapist said too, like
Mm-hmm.
another spirit's helping her like
Mm-hmm.
accept or also like
Yeah.
understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's because like yeah, hers was a slow one too of just in
Mm-hmm.
hospice and just a slow burn. Um I'm telling you, I know how I want to die. Just give me heroin, girl. Please
Okay.
don't drag me
Okay.
out.
We
Don't
finna wrap this up.
don't drag
Nah.
me out. Don't have me dry out like fruit in the hospice. Please
Okay.
don't have me dry out like no damn
Okay.
fruit.
Listen,
Put me in my race car and let me drive
Nori.
off the bridge, cause this is crazy.
Nori.
Don't have me dry out.
Nori.
Y'all heard it here first.
Nori, I want to thank you for being on the podcast episode
Ah,
with me.
thank you, Chelsea. Perfume, Chelsea. Where you going? Who are you on this
I'm
podcast?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, that's right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
no nicknames needed.
no
It's
nicknames.
fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chelsea. Thank you so
For
much.
this has been amazing. If For the listeners, if you ever felt like your people are speaking to you, trust it. Please trust it. Don't dismiss what you feel just because it doesn't fit someone else's version of spirituality. Like, it's don't worry about it. It's about your version, your your perspective, your experience. You may be the first generation allowed to speak what your ancestors had to whisper. I know that's the case for me because a lot of my folks practice hoodoo in the dark, or just privately practice. And, even though they may have been Baptist folks, but a lot of, I think, of how they practiced and how they survived was private as far as the things that they did and the beliefs that they had. So yeah, like I do know that I'm definitely like that first generation that's loud and proud with it. And I'm really happy about my relationship. Your relationship continues even across the veil. Never forget that. Your ancestors are there waiting for you. They have always been there. We just haven't been there. You haven't been there. So now the opportunity is there to continue to have the relationship and to strengthen your power and strengthen theirs. This has been a great, great episode. You've been listening to the practice of a Hoodoo Baptist. This is my altar, my process, my truth, where I honor those who came before me and speak what was once kept in silence, covered by spirit, guided by blood. Until next time.